Good morning. How are you?
Good morning. Well, it's an afternoon here. Good
Oh,
afternoon.
it's 5:30 in the morning here.
It's too early for giving for giving a lecture then, Stephen, I believe.
I've been in the military for 20 years, so this is normal time.
Then that is great. You'll be very energetic right now then, right?
Definitely.
Hmm. So, Stephen, will be expecting an audience of they are like a curious audience definitely, and a very bleak knowledge about blockchain, right? So I believe the flow could be where we can start with basics of blockchain and then move develop then move into the encryption part and the whole security and decentralization part, and so on and so forth, right? And definitely we'll get started in a couple of minutes only. There are people still joining us today, right?
Okay.
And in a couple of minutes we can start. Definitely. How by the way, how is it there, like right now, where are you based in?
Right now I'm in Puerto Rico.
Oh, in Puerto Rico. Okay. And what's the situation like there? Like, is everything sorted? All of this COVID and things like that, are they gone?
Uh, for blockchain stuff, there are quite a few um, groups here that
Hmm.
get together. There's one on Mondays that I go to in the evenings, and it's kind of a networking event. It's like they usually have speakers, and then the speaker will go through about 30 minutes of what they're building or how they've built stuff in the past. Um, there's little groups like that around the island. I've only been able to go to some here in San Juan. I haven't gone. There's a couple over on the West Coast. It, relative, from being from the States, when you say the coast is 1,000 miles away where I'm from. The coast here is an hour and a half. So it's the Puerto Rico is very small. So getting anywhere is very quick. You can drive around the whole island in about 4 hours.
Oh, so it's that small. All right.
Yeah, it's very
It's still
small.
still bigger than the cities that we have here, though.
Probably bigger than the cities, but San Juan, the city I'm looking at right now out of the window, I think there's only like 1.5 million people in their city, and there's only 3 million people on the whole island.
Oh, okay.
So it's
So
very, very tiny comparatively speaking.
great, great. And how about the meetings that you are having in blockchain? Like, can you tell some more things about it? I believe everybody here will definitely love to listen about it. Like, what exactly is going on in blockchain space?
Here, there's a lot of there are more investors here right now than there are actual developers, um, and the mix of who shows up changes. um, but ecosystem wide, there's a lot of excitement about what we're building as a cryptocurrency community, um, and there's a lot of support for each other. I think that's one thing that gets lost um, when you watch Twitter or you go into Telegram channels and you see all of this infighting in the cryptocurrency community, and people tearing each other down, or calling this a shit coin. Oh, can I cuss?
Uh, I'll prefer you not to.
Okay.
We'll
That
be having, yeah, yeah,
Sorry.
it's all right. It's all right.
Uh,
A bit is fine. So for sure.
so just people that they fight about whose coin is better and why it's better and why yours is no good, and people are getting lost on the fact that what we're building, what this entire movement is about, is democratization of your data and your financial freedoms. And there's always going to be a small group of people that want to have a little chaos in the system because they thrive in that chaos. Um, and I prefer chaos for the movement forward of all of the people that are involved, and not chaos between the people that are involved.
True.
I get really get really upset when I go on Twitter and I see, people just calling other projects names, or all of those things. But I also understand that um, that human nature is to do that kind of stuff sometimes. So you have to be able to have a filter when you get in this space of what is good information to listen to, and then what information you should just let flow through and not worry about. Um, and being in the blockchain in the crypto space since 2013, I've learned a little bit of which to filter and which not to filter. Um, and then a lot of my time is spent on Jupiter. So I don't get to surf Twitter nearly as much anymore, since we've really started developing on top of Jupiter, on our blockchain. Metis takes up 80% of my time. Talking with the developers and going and testing things, and talking to companies about why Web3 and products like Metis are going to change the internet. So yeah, that's really the big thing, and I kind of highlight that in my quick intro that you guys have been graciously enough to give me, to kind of go through it and give where I see the internet in 10 to 15 years, because 2 years from now it's important, but 2 years from now isn't going to be the catalyst to change the internet. What is happening today with censorship and governments telling you who you can talk to, who you can't talk to, what you can do, what crypto you can use, if you can use crypto, turning your bank accounts off and stuff like that. The whole ecosystem is ripe for change. Like, so I have children, and they're young. I don't expect to have bank accounts for my children. They're going to have cryptocurrency accounts that their entire financial system runs on top of these protocols, that are in front of us today. It's the job of the developers to build the user experience and the user interfaces to make these applications as easy to use as your regular bank account. And that's where you guys come in. That's where you guys learn, the ins and outs of JavaScript, and how to make things look nice and pretty with CSS and HTML. Learn the web frameworks of React and Angular and Next.js and all of those other types of languages. There's a debate, whether you should program in Python or whatever. I'm not here to debate which language you should use, only that whatever you choose to use for your development language should be web native, very easy to deploy web apps, because that is where things are going. And even more interesting, which I'll kind of touch in, is where those web apps will actually live. So yeah, I
Yes.
think that was kind of a long-winded answer to. I'm excited. People around here are excited, and it makes me excited to see young people want to learn how to develop, and get excited about cryptocurrency in general.
Indeed, I believe a lot of people that are here has this question in their mind, like how should we get started with the development, right? Because everyone that is here has already seen the prices of cryptocurrencies, right? The prices in itself is a good motivation for people to get into the crypto space.
Mm-hmm.
So that is one of the best things that all of this industry has provided them, right? And to start, I would like to share a very very warm welcome to Dr. Shrikant Charhate, professor and director of Amity University, as well as Dr. Deepa Parasar, who's HOD and this HOD of the CSC department in Amity. Please welcome, a very very heartfelt welcome to you guys for being here. And we definitely hope to do our best to teach these students about blockchain, and so that they can, at least from this lecture, they can get started towards the deployment in blockchain itself, right? So
Yeah. So I was gonna
yes,
say, so that to get started, the easiest way is to to look up a layer one like Jupiter or Ethereum or Solana or any of those other layer one technologies, uh, and then just go into their communities and look and see what they need built. And
exactly.
the best way to get a paid job in this industry is to build something for free, show it off, and the person you built, like if you built something for Jupiter on our blockchain and said, "Hey, I built this product and this is what it does and why it is needed because your community asked for it." That's the best way to get a paying job because now I know that you're interested in Jupiter, you're interested enough to use your time to build a product, and that product you build, you can make money for people using that product. Um,
Right.
and so that's where, it's not always about, spending or making a token on Ethereum and, praying it becomes, Shibu Inu. And it just doesn't work. That's just not the way it works. The more beneficial for the entire ecosystem is to build products on top of these protocols. And that, my friends, is exactly how you get a paying job and freelance. When you get really good at what your craft is, with your development skills, you can start to demand a higher pay. And that's, when you're my age, I'm 40 years old. When you become 40 and this is something you still want to do because you love building new products, you know after you have 20 years doing your craft, you can pick and choose jobs whenever you like and get paid whatever you tell them you want to get paid, and you only take the jobs that interest you. And that's the name of the game. When you're my age, you have a wife and you have kids, you want to be able to spend time with them. And development, especially like freelance development on this type of system, gives you that freedom. You can go to Puerto Rico, you can go to the Maldives, you can go to Japan, you can go to Europe, you can come to the United States. Like, there are so many things that opens because you don't have to go to an office to sit down and type. You can do the typing right here. And I can, if there was, the sun was out, I could see the bay, but I can't. It's dark, so I can't see anything. But that's the best way to get into the system. Find a project you like. I hope it's Jupiter. I hope you go look at it and you're like, hey, this is a really cool project and it's affordable to use. Um, and then you look around the community and you say, hey, this there's a really good consensus here that they want a new user experience for their wallet, or they want a new user experience for their decentralized exchange. I want to build that. And then you build it and you go, hey guys, look, I built this decentralized exchange, and to use it, it costs you one Jupe every time you trade. Well, one Jupiter is 2.5 cents, or it costs a half a Jupiter and it costs 1.25 cents. So those are the things you can build into the system and get noticed by people like me and other founders like me that go hire people.
Indeed. There is one more thing that I'll like to tell our audience, that if you guys have any questions, right, just feel free to post them in the chat box. We'll try and get back to those questions almost immediately so that we can have a very interactive session. We are here to clear all the doubts that you guys have towards blockchain, and also to provide pathways on how you can get started. Like, one of the best pathways that already Steven has mentioned is that go ahead, start building on a chain, right, and start contributing on a chain. Right now, this is one of the best pathways that is already available on becoming a blockchain developer, right? And so Steven, can we have insights onto some of the things that you did, or some of the challenges that you had in your journey while making Jupiter?
Um, the general challenges for what we're doing on Jupiter, the Jupiter blockchain wasn't incredibly difficult to get running. As most things in crypto, it is a clone of another project that I used to work on called NXT. There was a couple things that I didn't like about their chain. Their fees were too much. They were too expensive. And I knew I wanted to increase blockchain speed. So that was something that we looked at and said, okay, we need our own blockchain. So that's what we did with Jupiter. The biggest change in how we build things is something that we call Web3. And you guys that are now getting into development, you won't build mean stacks or meaner stacks or lamp stacks. You won't build Facebooks or Instagrams or Twitters, because those are all Web2 companies. Those are all dinosaurs now. And the reason those are dinosaur companies is because all of your data is in one spot. One company owns all of your data. And if you get a service for free, you are the product. If you go on Facebook, it's a free product, but they capture everything you say or talk about or look at. If you click on an ad, it's put into a little file, and now they have built your dossier on where you go and what you like, and then they start trying to sell you things, because Facebook is an advertising company, not a social networking company. Just like Google is an advertising company, not a search engine. So those types of things are going to be important for my kids' generation, for people that are 15 and younger, because they're not going to want that. They're not going to want to give all their information to people, because our current regime of governments across the world are data hungry. They capture everything on everybody at all times, and then they go and they regurgitate it to figure out if they need to look at it further. Web3 is going to flip that on top of its head. There's a couple fundamental things that are different between Web 2 and Web 3 at the core. And Web 3 enhances the internet today as we know it with verifiability, trustlessness. It's self-governing, it's permissionless, it's distributed and robust. It has a statefulness to it, that it can go back and look at it. And then it has native built-in payments. There's a payment system built into Web3, and whether it's Ethereum, Bitcoin, Jupiter, Solana, all of those projects that are going to push the Web3 ecosystem forward have a payment rail. I can send, we're getting ready to release Metis 1.4, which is a fully encrypted messaging system on your phone. You'll be able to send Jupiter through it to anybody else on the system very easily from your phone. You'll click, and you'll send them Jupiter. Developers that are going to be your generation of developers are going to build Web3 applications that either run on blockchains or other similar decentralized networks that have many peer-to-peer nodes. And there won't be a Facebook.com that you go to. It'll be a Stevens House .local, and I'll have a device like what I'm looking at, our Metis container, and it will run my social life on the internet, but it's mine physically, and my device only talks to the internet through other devices that I share with through the blockchain, and all of my data is encrypted unless I've given you permission to see it. So those types of things are really going to flip Web3 on, or the current internet is going to be changed the way it all works. Web3 and pushing services to the edge and into people's homes will be the new normal, because these services are so lightweight that you can run them on. Like I have a Raspberry Pi with 128 gig micro SD card that runs my Jupiter node and my Metis instance. So
yeah. And could we have maybe a technical foresee of how Metis is actually working on the back end? Like what exactly are the components that Metis is using? Can we have that a
So
bit?
so Metis is programmed in React Native for the iOS app, and then it's programmed in Node.js for the server middleware, and then our blockchain is Java. So the biggest difference between what Metis does and Telegram or Signal or WhatsApp, all of our communications are encrypted, whether it's one-to-one or one-to-many. None of your messages are ever stored on our server. And if you don't want to use our server, you can install your own Metis instance and use that Metis and still talk to every single person that's on Metis from your computer. And that's where Web3 is radically different. If say my company goes out of business tomorrow, Metis still works just fine. Anybody can use Metis, and I can't stop you from using Metis. Nobody can stop you from using Metis because it's a fully decentralized network of nodes that operate 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You don't rely on a company. So like if Telegram goes out of business, Telegram on my phone no longer works. If I go out of business, Metis on your iPhone or your Android device, you change the node to your node, Metis works fine.
Amazing.
And that's the power of what we're building. We use GPG for public key encryption in AES 256, which is what the United States military and other types of organizations use, which is very effective. And so we're developing a new way to communicate without anybody scraping your data. If you talk to somebody and you're like, hey, this boomerang was really cool. Well, guess what you see when you go somewhere on Google or Facebook or anywhere else? You see freaking advertisements for boomerangs. Well, we don't have that because you don't have to give us you don't have to give us your name. You don't have to give us your phone number. You don't have to give us an email address. We literally give you some Jupyter so it works because that's the cost basis. Anything you get for absolutely free, you are the product. With Jupyter, you get a little bit of Jupyter to begin your account, but when you go and you start using the services to upload files and to continually communicate, you can buy Jupyter on the open market. You can buy one Jupyter and send. Last count was you can send about 100,000 messages with one Jupyter. So for 2.5 cents, you can send 100,000 messages. So that cost basis is very, very low, and that's what I wanted. I wanted to have Jupyter to be a very inclusive blockchain, and that's where Ethereum gets really hairy. I couldn't build this system on Ethereum; it would cost me millions of dollars a day, and I don't have millions of dollars to spend every day. So, and I wouldn't expect my users to pay that exorbitant amount. But we have an alias system. My alias is Sigwo85, SIGWO85. So I'm in the ecosystem. I use it every day, and that's the power of what we're building. Yeah.
It's pretty amazing actually. Something like this is it's not here yet, right? And it's quite unique too. The whole idea behind an encrypted messaging service that only you can control, and all of the data is in your hands, is something that's not done yet, right?
Yeah.
And that is also which is on blockchain itself. Pretty amazing. That's why I actually myself I wanted to know about what exactly is the process in the back end for Metis. So that's I was very intrigued with the application itself. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really cool, and we're getting ready to push Metis version 1.4, and in that version, we've introduced sending Jupiter between the users and also spinning video conferences with Jitsi, so you can do
Okay.
voice and video. And the way
Nice.
that works is you don't have to have any credentials to start a Jitsi video teleconference. So basically, we randomize a number, that is the room name, and then it invites the person that you want to talk to into the room, and then you have a voice communication just like me and you are doing right now. Or you can have
Yes.
the participants come in at a moment's notice and have a fully um, semi-decentralized video channel. And the reason it's not fully decentralized yet is because the Jitsi software, which is open source, we haven't built the connector for a Metis container like what I'm looking at over here. You can't see it, but I have a small device that's this big, and we want to install Jitsi on these devices that people put in their house. So then they own their voice and their video communications on top of their text-based messaging system, and it's fully encrypted, and nobody can ever turn you off because the software itself is running on your device. Yes, a
Right.
company is maintaining that code, but it's all open source. So once you're a developer and you know what to look for, this is something you can maintain on your device, or you can build a company to maintain it for us, or start your own company that says, hey, Jitsi is fantastic. We want to make a plugin for Metis because Metis is open source, and start your own service to accept Jupiter as payment for people to start communications. There's so many ways to monetize your development and your product without scraping data from people. You don't need to know anything about me to get me to pay for your service. Give me a great service that I need, and people will pay for it.
True. True. Definitely. Quite amazing. Indeed. We have some questions in the chat too. Harsh is asking, what type of Dapp do you think is a good starting point for people to start developing?
So the best Dapp to start with is something somebody needs. If you build something that nobody wants, it doesn't matter how good it is. And that's what I was kind of alluded to. I don't know if you were here at the beginning of our chat. Go, pick a blockchain that you're interested in. Everybody's interested in Ethereum for a good reason. It's amazing. But it is very expensive to use. Swapping on Uniswap cost me $78 this morning for one trade. Our systems that we're building on Jupiter are economically infeasible to build on Ethereum. You just can't build it there. So decentralized applications, right now, the biggest winners that I see are things that abstract the blockchain from itself, because normal people, so don't think about cryptocurrency. Think about anything else that we're currently living in. Normal people don't understand how the internet works. They don't understand how Facebook or Google works. They don't understand how their bank works. They don't understand the payment system or how your credit card gets money from A to B or your banks transfer money between each other. Normal people don't understand that, and they don't want to. Not because they're dumb or because they don't get it. They just don't want to. They have other things to worry about. So cryptocurrency is very hard. It gets easier as we go along, and you participate in the ecosystem. But like I always tell my development team, if my wife can't figure it out, it's not good enough. It's not because my wife isn't intelligent. It's because she's not a developer. She's not a cryptocurrency person. So, and we're in our late 30s, early 40s. So our brain was raised differently. So anybody my age or older has either written crypto off or they're so scared they won't touch it. So your Dapp has to be friendly enough for people to use it and work every single time, because that's what they're used to. They're used to going to their Bank of America account, opening it up with their face, seeing they have $1,000 and sending $500 for whatever reason they need to send it for. And it takes 45 seconds tops from picking up your phone to sending money. That's the experience they expect. And when we don't deliver that experience, they go away and they never come back. So like I've told my developers, our target audience for what we're building is 15 years and younger. They're the ones that are going to use what we're building today on a day-to-day basis, not people that are my age and older. They're stuck in their ways, their heads in the sand, and they just don't get it. Which that's sad. I do my best to try to get people that are my age and older on board to look at it at least. Some of them buy Bitcoin and just hold it. Some people buy Ethereum and get sucked into to trading, which is totally fine. And you guys and gals that are here are going to be the ones that build what my kids use on a day-to-day basis. When they're my age, I'll be well into my mid 70s. So yeah.
Definitely. And Pratima, Metis does sound great. What I'll suggest you guys is, that at least go ahead and download it and try it once. Try creating an account on Metis. And, Metis is also a decentralized application, right? And you'll get to know the experience of a decentralized application. What do they feel like? And what exactly is the process behind it? What are the key features that a decentralized application uses for encryptions, and what are the basic parameters that you need to keep in mind? All of that are, they are very well explained as well during the starting process only of Metis. Right? Definitely go ahead, check the Metis app out. And again, there is a question by Dhananjay. Does Jupiter plan to release its own decentralized network like Ethereum and BSC, or will it build on pre-existing ones?
So Jupiter already has its own blockchain.
Exactly.
It's been running since this October of 2017. So it is already running, and it's a proof of stake blockchain. So you have to have 1,000 Jupiter to what we call to become a forging node. So it's similar to staking, and that's how blocks are created. And for finding a block, you get that block's transaction fee. There is no emission cycle like Ethereum, where more and more Ethereum is printed every time a block is found. Jupiter, there's 1 billion, and there will only be 1 billion. But we have a bridge to bridge between our blockchain, Ethereum, and the Binance Smart Chain. So you can trade on any three of those networks, and there's a bridge to swap between Binance Smart Chain and the Jupiter chain, because on the Jupiter chain you can buy assets on Jupiter. So one is called Forge. You buy Forge and you get an hourly payment for holding Forge. There's a node rewards program that you can get into to start your own Jupiter node, and then you put your Jupiter address as the platform name, and then we pay you every hour for holding Jupiter and running a node depending on your balance. So there are several ways to get rewarded for supporting the Jupiter ecosystem, even as a non-developer. There's a question in there: how much does it cost to develop a Dapp? So the rough range is somewhere between 5,000 and 5 million. It's very expensive to do this, and it depends on the undertaking of what you're trying to build. Metis so far has cost really, really, really close to $1 million to develop. So those types of ecosystem and infrastructure investments are something that we make from the Jupiter standpoint, because that's That's how our ecosystem becomes popular, and how these kinds of outreach opportunities for me as the founder of Jupiter, that's how we get new developers excited about our ecosystem. We have development grants. We actually have a hackathon going on right now that has started. It started in October. It ends the 15th of November. Um, we want new developers to come into the ecosystem and build things, and they get rewarded for building stuff. We have an entire budget to help developers, pay them in Jupiter when they build things, or if they need guidance or assistance, they reach out and we can help, give them ideas and guidance.
I believe Jupiter has an active community as well, right? Where the people can come forward and ask questions as well, right? So I believe everybody can, have a look at that too. Uh, if you, one of the big things that I found about every cryptocurrency project is, the projects that are actually good, in fact, that their community is really nice. Even if we post a question in that community, you'll get a reply back within a couple of hours only. Sometimes it's as quick as couple of seconds. So this is the way, and nobody's going to judge you on the question that you're asking. Everybody
No,
will
not at
appreciate,
all. Yeah,
right?
we love questions, and that's what
Definitely.
that's we love it, and that reinvigorates me when I get questions like what I'm seeing in the message chat. That's exciting for me, to see those kinds of questions, to get that kind of engagement. Um, so yeah, I guess you want me to just read the questions and I'll just go ahead and answer them.
And
I don't want to take up too much of your time. I know that you have some other things you wanted to kind of get to, but I am here to answer questions as long as you allow me.
I believe this is a great way of interaction too, Stephen. Like, how many, if they ask a lot of questions, we'll try to clarify as many thoughts that they have, right? And
Okay.
what I'm getting here is a picture that almost everybody has read about blockchain a bit, right? So everybody's asking quite good questions here. So this is much appreciated. Uh, so please, if anybody has questions, kindly go ahead. We can take
So,
another one too. Yeah.
yeah, so there's one in here that says, so Jupiter's not good for advertising companies, or does Jupiter have other ways of advertising? Jupiter doesn't advertise. That's just not what we do. I will advertise our products to other people, but I am not going to advertise to people that use our products. That's just, I hate it. I despise it. So no, we won't be like Bat and give you advertisements in your browser, or put, inside the Brave browser. If you don't have a if you clicked on Binance or you typed Binance.com in your web browser menu, in the background of that browser, you signed up using their referral code because they hard coded into their browser, and that's shitty. That's just that's just crap. So no, I won't ever do anything like that. And for advertising companies, it's really not good because we don't. The more and more you use decentralized Web3 applications that don't require any personally identifiable information, and you use companies like Jupiter, like the Jupiter project, or my company Sigwo Technologies, we don't build data scraping into the ecosystem, so we won't have any data to sell to anybody for advertising. Eventually, when this ecosystem gets more robust, you as the user and the owner of your data will be able to sell your data, if you choose, to the advertising companies. That's how this whole advertising model gets flipped on its head. You are going to be in control of all of your data. So yeah, eventually it's bad for advertising companies, but we have an entire generation of really smart people that figured out how to get the best clicks, and how to get your eyes to move around a certain page. So I'm excited to see that brain power used for good, honestly. And then there's one, machine learning used in this market. You can use it however you like. There are a lot of there's a lot of data out there to crunch. A lot of machine learning and is used in trading bots to analyze the markets and past trading information and data points to use and to build trading tools. That's probably the most popular way to do that kind of stuff. Next, easy to get funding in the dApps industry. The best part about it is anybody can raise money at any time. The hard part and the most aggravating part to me is most of your funds to be a big project or to get really big traction is marketing costs. Marketing and network awareness and network exposure is by far the hardest part of the blockchain experience running a project. Hiring developers, building the product is hard, but it's the most hard to get people to use your product and to build on top of your blockchain. And the projects that receive funding, there's funding events every single day, multiple times a day. I mean, so it's super easy. But I would, like I said, if you want to have a long-term relationship with the cryptocurrency ecosystem, build a free application, build something for free, and go to that community that you built it for and tell them, hey, I built this awesome thing. It does X, Y, and Z, and to use it, it costs you X amount of dollars or X amount of whatever. Or you can say, hey, it's totally free, and people like me that run projects pay you in our currency. Like, hey, thanks, that's fantastic. Here's 50,000 Jupiter. That's like, thanks for doing that. And then, hey, well, I need something else built. Would you be willing to build that for me? And you'll say yes or no, and then I'll pay you for it. That's the easiest way to get into being a paid developer on the blockchain. Build your first app free and make it good, and then you're in the door, because we need developers. We are so short development talent. I cry. It's so sad. It's so sad. Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
That this is the case, which is almost everywhere right now. We are short of good developers, definitely, right, in the blockchain system. And right, because of that, I believe a demand has also surged a lot of blockchain developers. So the comparative salaries or comparative amounts that blockchain developers get on the similar experience is way more than whatever salary packages that developers get here in India, right? One of the key factors is that you get a chance to work globally too. So you're actually paid in dollars, comparisons with dollars and all that, and all those things, right? So that is why the salaries in itself in India, they are more than what average developer might get, right? Which is again a very good opportunity for everybody here to start their journey in blockchain. And I believe we have a lot of questions, Steve. So we might have to hurry a bit, right?
Okay.
And so there is one question by Mayur: where can we stake Jupiter and earn rewards? Could we have a brief introduction about like the whole staking thing, and as well as how much can they earn? So that might be of interest to everybody.
So there's a few ways you can earn Jupiter. You can, like I said earlier, you can buy an asset on Jupiter. It's called Forge, and this is unique because it's 1-to-1, one Jupiter for one Forge at all times, every time. When you hold Forge every hour, we run a script that looks at everybody that holds Forge. There's a pool of 3,000 Jupiter every single hour that gets paid to people that hold Forge relative to the percentage outstanding. So if you have 5% of the outstanding forge, you get 5% of that 3,000 every single hour. So that's one way. The second way is what we discussed is like forging, like the actual process of forging blocks. That gets paid every hour as well. And you get a 20% increase for running a node over just owning Forge, because there's some skin in the game. You know, you have to have a node. You either have to run it on your computer and so forth on that. And then you can provide liquidity on the Ethereum blockchain or the Binance Smart Chain. On Ethereum, there's a farm at Unicrypt. You take your LP tokens, you deposit them like every other Ethereum-based LP token, and you get rewarded. Right now, last time I checked, the rewards on Ethereum, our APY is somewhere between 70 and 90%. On Forge and the Node Rewards program, it's about 18% on chain. And then on Binance Smart Chain, we have the same LP token system, except for we just released the farm to be on our chain. So you take your LP tokens, you go to our bridge it into the main net, and then every hour you get paid. You're part of it. And right now, the last time I checked, the APY for holding the Binance Smart Chain LP tokens is 170% APY. So there's a, and the reason those are so different, you know, just holding Forge is very safe. There's nothing, you're not risking anything because you can sell your Forge at any time for the Jupiter you paid for it. There's no slippage, there's no price difference. If you buy 1,000 Jupiter worth of Forge, you have 1,000 Forge. When you sell that 1,000 Forge, you get 1,000 Jupiter back, guaranteed every single time. Things like the LP token, the price changes. You might put in 10,000 Jupiter with one Binance coin, and then trading happens, and you come back and you only have 1,000 Jupiter, but you have 2 Binance Smart coins, Binance Smart Chain coins, or BNBs. So those types of things are risky relative to just owning and holding Forge. So those are the main ways that you can gain a yield by holding Jupiter. We're getting ready to have an NFT drop called Astropunks. And holding an Astropunk will give you a multiplier effect for any of those assets that you have. So that's exciting. That gives a tangibility to the NFT instead of just seeing that it's digital art. It actually gives you access to an increased amount of Jupiter per hour.
That's great. We have another question. Are there plans to improve the social media presence?
Yeah,
Right.
there is. It won't be Shiba Inu.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
there are ways to do that, and I could pay for that service, but I'm building an actual thing. Shiba Inu won't be a thing in 6 months.
well, you know, I
I've
believe.
been around long enough to see those things come and go, and I'm still here.
Indeed, indeed. You know, I believe they do not really know about the fundamentals yet of blockchain because they cannot distinguish between Jupiter and Shiba Inu. You can see that, right? So after you guys actually study about it, like what exactly is the fundamentals of Shiba Inu and what exactly are the fundamentals of Jupiter, only then you'll be able to understand the difference amongst those two. So they have to have their social media presence, right? And a project like Jupiter, they do not really need such a thing, right? Because of the work that they're doing, definitely. And then there is a question by Pranay, I believe, which is a very relevant question, like how a person can actually scale up for blockchain hackathons, or what is the pathway of doing so?
So if basically to scale into a blockchain hackathon, you need to know your development language proficiency will help you be able to look at the blockchain APIs and figure out how you need to store or manipulate or use the data for your advantage. So being very good at your language and not having to go look and see how to do functions of JavaScript, or how do you use promises, or how do I get this frame to stay in the right spot, or anything like that. If you're really good at development, you can focus on the blockchain side at a hackathon. So my suggestion is to make sure your craft, make sure you're really good at developing, make sure you're good at JavaScript, make sure you know HTML and CSS, and how those cascading style sheets work, and how to make a grid. It makes if you're looking at the screen, you see this beautiful 3x3 block of pictures. There are boilerplate templates that do that. You need to be able to manipulate these boxes to do the things you want them to do. And then the blockchain, I look at blockchain as the storage facilitation. So it's like a MongoDB or a SQL database or something. It's where the information you need is stored. So that API interaction is where a lot of that stuff comes from. So yeah, just be a good developer, and hackathons, you'll knock them out of the park, and you can win a lot of good prizes, especially depending on which hackathons you go to. You can do really well, and it gives you a name,
and recognition too. And what are the algorithms that I use Jupyter, and if you can tell us more about the chain complexity.
So scripting algorithms, you can script using whatever you want. It's there's a very robust API system that you can script against, but you can use Python or JavaScript or Java or C# or C++, whatever you use, you can script against with Jupyter. The most popular today is JavaScript, Node.js, because that is a very web native programming language. The complexity, I mean, if you want to get down to how the blocks are built, that's complex. And that's the thing. Like those are the types of things. If you're not so I hear people say, I'm a blockchain developer. No, you're not. You're not a blockchain developer. Because if you were a blockchain developer, you would be building actual blockchains. You're a web app developer, which is fantastic, because blockchain developers need web developers to build on top of the blockchain that we develop. So, our blockchain is built in Java, and our blockchain can, if you have a great idea for it, it's open source, do a merge request or a pull request so we can merge it if it's something that we can that is good for the ecosystem, or that we vote on because we have a decentralized voting mechanism. So the complexity really lies in where you're trying to build.
And is the project funded? I believe. Okay. Right. Is the project funded?
Yeah, I mean we've been running on this project since 2017, so it's pretty.
And does the staking program work with MetaMask?
No.
Definitely. Right.
We have however, we built our own MetaMask client for Jupyter's blockchain called Europa. And we are getting ready. My developer that is running that program is getting ready to release in extension swapping for Forge and our other product called Astro, which is a more volatile asset. So I usually only talk about Forge, but you can buy and sell Forge inside the browser extension for fractions of a penny. So yes, there is a program to stake Jupyter. However, it's not MetaMask. It's a Chrome extension called Europa.
could you please emphasize more on gravity framework versus the ETH framework?
For the gravity framework, so the ETH 2.0, so frameworks are the same. When you use gravity or our SDK, it's just an easier way for you to interact fast with the blockchain. The ETH 2.0 framework, don't waste your time on it, because ETH 2.0, I'm afraid ETH 2.0 is going to be one of those unicorns that we never catch. I think it's a great idea in theory, but I don't think it might be Ethereum's undoing. If you're looking at that kind of stuff, I mean, build on regular Ethereum if that's what you're going to do. But ETH 2.0, it's essentially the same blockchain except for it's proof of stake. So I mean, there's no real difference. In which framework to use, it depends on what you want to build and who you want to build it for. If you want to build stuff for Jupiter, you use Gravity or our Node SDK. Or you use the Gem server for image management. I mean, there's many different things that you can use, or you just look at the API system and say, hey, you know what? I don't like the way they built this framework, or there's not a framework for Python. I'm going to build my own framework. So yeah, this just depends on what you want to build.
Dhananjay, I believe we have already catered to your question. Can Jupiter be mined? We have already talked about staking, right? So you can compare your question with that. Harsh is asking, what is the floor price for Astropunks?
Don't know yet.
It's yet to explore then, right? And what are your thoughts on combining data analysis and blockchain? Is this a sensible venture?
So, yes. However, not everything needs to go on the chain. Certain data points in your data analysis need to be on the blockchain, because then you can go back and prove where your data came from, or how, excuse me, or how your data arrived at its conclusion. But if you have 5 terabytes of data you're crunching, not all that 5 terabytes need to go on chain. It wouldn't fit anywhere right now. But every 5,000 records, you may need a data point to prove that this 5 terabytes here is actually the data that was used to come to this conclusion. And there are those data points however often stored on the blockchain that you can't change. So that's the kind of stuff how data analysis and analytics are going to change. Is I don't need to know every piece of the data. I need to know the important parts of the data. So you can use those important parts to prove all the data is actually there, and that's what was used.
And how do you implement your own blockchain? Like, this is one question for your work, I believe. And
you fork you go to GitHub and you fork a project and see if you can get the Genesis block to work. I would highly not recommend starting new blockchains. I would highly recommend building on blockchains that exist.
True.
Especially if you're just forking a blockchain to make a new blockchain, because that's not pushing the ecosystem forward.
And what scale do you plan to grow your project? Like, this is one of the things that even I had in mind. Like, what are the future prospects that Jupiter is bringing?
So I have contacts at the Department of Defense, at the top levels, for different organizations inside. So that's that is one avenue. Jupiter can, I want to scale it. The scale of which Jupiter goes is not fully dependent on me. It's dependent on developers like you here in the chat. It depends on how creative you get with the products that are built on top of Jupiter. So that's where we push, we push Metis. We have our own NFT called Lita. So we have our own NFT platform marketplace, and those are the kinds of things that you can build, and we want to use those as showcase um, applications, so that gets other people excited. And then when we get other developers to come on board, they can build, and we can advertise, or we can spread the news about what you build too.
And there is a question: how does proof of stake differ from proof of work by Akshat?
Google.
Yeah.
Go to Google and do that. I'm not. That's too long of an answer. Go to Google. Go to Google and look that up.
And okay, there's a repeat question.
Yeah. See, I didn't choose Ethereum because it's expensive. It's very expensive.
Right. One of the major problems that Ethereum is facing right now is the expense on transaction. Like, if you want to do a $5 transaction, you have to pay $60, $70 in fees,
Yeah.
which is far too much for anybody new to start onboarding Ethereum. It's
Yeah.
very practically very difficult.
It's crazy. It's nuts. I mean, like I said, Ethereum is pushing Web3 it is making Web3 a household name.
Yes.
The use of Ethereum is too expensive for normal people. Nobody outside the cryptocurrency community is going to pay $60 to send $5. It's just not going to happen.
Yes.
So that's why Jupiter came about. I can send every single Jupiter on the that is in existence, if I own them all, for a thousandth of a penny. Our transaction costs are very affordable, and that's why I built Jupiter instead of using Ethereum. Binance Smart Chain, if Binance goes away, that blockchain dies.
Yes, that's the hard truth about Binance too.
So that's why I didn't choose Binance Chain, because it's a very centralized company, or blockchain, which the guy's a billionaire. He can do whatever he wants.
True. And I believe with this, the questions have, we have completed all the questions that there are. Guys, if you have any other questions, feel free to join the Discord group, and you can carry forward your discussions there. Just remember, no question is, way too dumb or something like that. In this community, we are glad to answer all the questions that you guys have, and definitely we'll try. The community is in itself very welcoming, so you don't have to worry about asking questions at all, right? And I believe with that we can end our session, Stephen. It was really nice having you here, and the discussions were pretty amazing. I believe we answered all the questions that our audience had, as well as we gave them an avenue to start developing, as well as an avenue to run through, like with Metis they can actually see what a decentralized application look like, right? So I believe we have already covered all the questions that everybody must have.
Okay.
Right. And
personal
yeah,
crypto
definitely.
portfolio. It's
Right,
not big
right.
enough. That's the problem. You just keep buying, and that's it. I mean, that's it. Keep buying everything. We'll eventually, the market will eventually turn around, and we're going to go down, but that's okay, because everything goes up eventually. So,
Yes.
People my age and younger, if they're not investing in cryptocurrency, they're not going to make it.
Yeah, true. And I believe in cryptocurrency right now, a lot of young people are the ones that are leading, are actually the flag bearer as well, right? So it's expected from each and every one of you that is here, to at least to do something in blockchain, right? And Jupiter could definitely be a very good starting point. Just have a look at it. Stephen has already shared the link for the website. You can find all the resources that were mentioned in this lecture there, right? And definitely go through that once. Any other questions?
So can you tell us something about NFT?
There was a question, Stephen. Like, can you
I
tell
couldn't
something
hear
about
it.
NFT?
I'm
Can
sorry,
you
I
can
didn't.
we yeah can we explain a bit more about NFT?
So, so the non-fungible tokens or NFTs are not a new phenomenon. They're 4 or 5 years old, and if you really want to extrapolate what an NFT is, you've had an NFT since the birth of the blockchain because every single transaction is a UT is a NFT. Um, but like I said earlier, marketing drives everything. And the sense of urgency has been built into people. It is human nature to not get left behind. And that's what marketing does for people, and it ends up ruining people. Um, and that's not what I want to do. I want to get people aware of what we're building and involved and excited because of the things we're changing, not because I'm a good salesperson. Um, so NFTs to me, the art part is not very important. Looking at a rock that somebody paid $800,000 for is just ridiculous. However, like everything else in crypto, the most ridiculous thing of this cycle will be the most exciting thing of the next cycle. The next cycle for NFTs, instead of me signing a contract to buy a house or having a insurance note or signing a will or a marriage certificate, those will all be digital. Those will be on chain, and that will be your NFT. Here's my marriage certificate. Let me pull it up off my Jupiter blockchain out of my blockchain storage that we have. Or hey, sorry I was speeding. Here's my insurance because I paid for my insurance with Jupiter, and my insurance provider is hooked in with the payment system that we have, and they just send me my card across to my alias on Jupiter. Those are the NFTs that are exciting to me. But there will always be those people that are excited about the art side of it. So those are, and then the third kind of new thing for NFTs is in-game stuff. So like skins for like Fortnite or whatever kind of video games kids are playing these days. Being able to buy that skin in the metaverse, and have it look like you wherever your 3D avatar is. That'll be exciting for kids that are, or for people that are my kids' age. That might be a thing. I gave the marketplace for NFTs for Jupiter. I own a couple NFTs that people have built and sold on Lita. So yeah, I for me, I wouldn't try to build an art-based NFT project. That's me.
I believe now you must have an insight of how what exactly is an NFT, right? Is there any other questions that we have? I believe that is okay. That is it, right? Tushar has messaged us, right? Thank you so much for having us here. It was really nice being here, Amity University, right? So it was really nice being here, and definitely a very pleasing audience. It was love to interact with everybody. Thank you, Stephen, for your
Thank
time.
you.
It was really amazing, and definitely will definitely see for this that all the resources that we have are shared with all the participants here, and will also provide recording so that everybody can if they want to review the session they can, right?
Excellent.
On this note, uh, you know uh, just keep on developing, keep on excelling, and add, if you guys have any question, reach out to us, right?
Definitely. Thank you guys. I appreciate it. We'll talk.
Bye bye, Stephen.
Bye bye.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tushar.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, guys. Have a nice day. Bye bye.
You too, sir. Bye bye. Have a great day, guys.
Thank you, sir.
Have a nice day, sir.